Hey everybody, Jason Easley here. Thank you for joining me on today's live. We have a great topic for you. Donald Trump's biggest strength in politics is his lack of ethics, integrity, and morals. The U.S. system of government was based on the idea that presidents would be people of virtue. There was a belief among the founders that the American people would not choose a president who lacked character and virtue. Now, we all know what has happened since with Donald Trump, and today's topic is we're going to be talking about how Trump is failing based on some of his own character flaws, specifically his lack of intelligence and refusal to learn. The role model for the founders for the presidency, according to Constitutional Convention delegate Pierce Butler, was George Washington. Butler reflected that the new president's powers were so great because his colleagues had cast their eyes toward General Washington, the convention's presiding officer, as president, and shaped the ideas of the powers to be given to the president by their opinions of his virtue. So, for better or worse, the founders said, we want to have a president like Washington, and we expect all presidents to behave like Washington. The Constitution has been able to endure since 1787 because it's not a completely tightly specific document. The Constitution has served as a guiding document with relatively few but some very important amendments in the nation's history. Yeah, Constitution is not perfect, but we do that. Those who wrote the Constitution created a strong executive because they thought that those future executives would be like Washington. The assumption that presidents would follow Washington's example and behave like high character individuals who respected the office and public service meant that the presidency was often governed by norms and precedents, not laws and rules. So we had an honor system with the presidency. Presidents are supposed to be honorable public servants, and the system worked really well, with a few exceptions, like Grant, Nixon, Teapot Dome. We had our scandals until the American people twice elected a person who was the exact opposite of George Washington to serve as president. Not only has Donald Trump been found in a court of law to have engaged in fraud, but corruption appears to be the currency of his administration. Trump ignores rules, norms, and ethics like they don't exist. Trump did get elected president twice, and that doesn't happen. That's not an accident. Trump has strengths because he isn't a thinker. Trump makes solutions to complicated problems seem simple, which can be appealing to some voters. The problem is that once he is in office, he can't solve the problems voters turn on him, because there's a difference between campaigning and governing. Trump's lack of respect for norms and laws and his generally immoral behavior mean that he has no qualms about using bullying, intimidation, and being dishonest. Again, these are all traits that can help win an election, but they become liabilities when it comes to governing. Because of his character traits and his efforts to overturn the 2020 election, many Americans feared that his return to the presidency would mean the end of democracy and a dictatorship. But Trump has one giant limiting factor that explains why his presidency has already been deemed a failure by the American people. The problem is, and this is not, by the way, this is not one of those videos that will dismiss Trump because of his apparent lack of intellect or his unwillingness to learn, but the goal is to show that Trump's refusal to learn is his Achilles heel and the main reason why he is failing. Trump contains a self-destructive combination of arrogance and stupidity that is sinking his presidency And nowhere is this toxic cocktail more obvious than Trump's obsession with Greenland. So let's talk about Greenland, shall we? The whole Greenland obsession has dated back to six, seven, well, actually his first term. He started talking about Greenland apparently in 2017, 2018. Trump wants Greenland. No one's exactly sure why Trump wants Greenland. He claims it's for national defense, but that reasoning has been picked apart. He doesn't want Greenland for national defense. This isn't about national defense or national security. The United States has the largest military in the world. If Trump is going to need Greenland to defend the United States from Russia and China, the United States is in big trouble, and we're spending way, way too much money on our military if that's the case. If Trump can't figure this out without having Greenland, then we got bigger problems. So he wants Greenland. He's not paying attention to the realities because he wants Greenland specifically just to have something to feel good about. Just to say, I added territory to the United States. He's looking to build his legacy, which is, all presidents in their second term or older presidents want to build a legacy. That's not abnormal. The way Trump is going about this is very, very abnormal. By the way, this is a live chat. If you have any comments, let me know. Here's a comment. No. Cindy says Trump is a straight up Nazi. Trump isn't a Nazi. No. Trump isn't a Nazi at all. Trump's a racist. Trump's a segregationist racist. Trump is Bull Connor. Trump is Jim Crow. Trump is not a Nazi. So let's just stop with Nazis to this degree because it's not the same thing. When Trump invades Canada with military force and takes over Canada and declares it U.S. natural territory, then we're starting to talk Nazi behavior. But, I think the Nazi thing is a fast and loose and easy thing to use, but I don't think it fits in this case. But in the case of Greenland, Trump has finally gone so far with such a stupid idea that it's being driven just by him, that Republicans have finally said no. In fact, they've taken it to the point where they're willing to possibly impeach him if he actually, I see something to my hat there, if he actually tries to take Greenland with military force. Let's look at what Rep. Don Bacon had to say. Flip this over here. Rep. Don Bacon, this is out of USA Today. Rep. Don Bacon, a Republican representing Omaha, Nebraska, told the Omaha World Herald on January 14th that Trump's approach to Greenland is utter buffoonery. He told the paper a U.S. invasion of the Arctic island is a disastrous idea that could end in Trump's impeachment. There's so many Republicans mad about this, Bacon told the newspaper. If he went through with the threats, I think it would be the end of his presidency. Okay. Let's ask ourselves a real question here. Why are Republicans willing to end Trump's presidency over Greenland? But they're not willing to end it over, they weren't willing to end it over Ukraine. He tried to extort Ukraine. They didn't want to end it then. He tried to overthrow the government. They didn't want to convict him and ban him from running for office. Okay? So, what is it about Greenland? Well, the answer is Title V. Is NATO Title V, NATO Section 5. Trump, they will not stand for Trump attacking a NATO ally. And Greenland, because it's a relationship with Denmark, is a NATO ally. So the Greenland thing, Republicans see it as stupid. It's their breaking point. They don't want to go further with it. But we have another comment from Senator Tom Tillis that I want to talk to you about here that we can actually see. Let's get Tom up here. Senator Tom Tillis, this is out of Politico, predicted members on both sides of the aisle would lock arms and require congressional sign-off if it became clear Trump was preparing imminent military action in Greenland. If there was a sort of action that looked like the goal was actually landing in Greenland and doing an illegal taking, then there'd be sufficient numbers here to pass a war powers resolution and withstand a veto. Now remember, if they can withstand a veto, Congress can effectively stop Donald Trump. And if Trump would defy a War Powers Act resolution, it could lead to his impeachment and removal. So that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a president who is so stupid and refusing to learn and just wants to do what he wants to do, that this is why his attempt to overthrow democracy is completely failing. The Achilles heel, the thing that will stop Trump every time, is that he's not smart enough. Is that if he would have had the intellectual ability to learn from his first term and come back into office and do the things he thinks he wants to do to overthrow democracy and make himself an all-powerful executive, if he would have had the intellectual ability, the willingness to learn, the willingness to grow, the willingness to surround himself with competent people who could carry out his agenda, well, then America would be in some trouble right now. The fact that he's not that smart, the fact that he refuses to be that smart, the fact that he refuses to learn and get smarter because he has that deadly combination of stupidity, but also thinking that he's the smartest person in the room at the same time. Good presidents, good and great presidents, understand they know what they don't know. And the smartest presidents surround themselves with competent people. Trump chose to surround himself with loyalists. Trump took the lesson from his first term that the problem was that he did not have people around him that would do what he wanted. The problem was anybody that would try to limit him. That was what Trump took away from it. That's not the lesson he should have learned if he wanted to be an effective at governance. So, as long as he continues to be stupid, his presidency will continue to fail. As long as he continues to be stupid, the Republican Party will lose elections, as long as they stand behind him. As long as he continues to be stupid, utterly stupid and selfish, the Republican Party doesn't have a good future in 2026 or 2028. That's the reality of what Trump's stupidity and supporting Trump's stupidity and Republicans thinking that, we can just humor him, or, we can just tell him, we can just let it slide, we can straighten him out, we can remember when Tim Scott tried to educate Trump on racism in his first term? And now we have ICE troops on the street yanking brown people, shooting protesters in the face, yanking people out of their homes, and making brown people disappear. How did educating Trump work out, Republicans? How did that go for you? How did that turn out? Are you looking like you're going to win an election? Are you looking like things are going to go great this November? Because I can tell you, they won't say it, but they know it's not going great this November. And they expect to lose the House. And they hope to keep the Senate. All because they enabled a stupid man to try to do incredibly stupid things, to the point where they will no longer have the tolerance to support his stupidity, because supporting this stupidity will cost them their jobs. Oh, look, we have a troll comment. Dude, you're a total idiot. Well, my political science degree and accreditations say differently. So, okay. You want to think I'm an idiot? That's great, but we all know I'm not. I don't care. See, that's the Trumpism. If you have experience and knowledge, you don't care if what people think about that, who don't know what they're talking about. When you don't know what you don't know, like Donald Trump, you think you're the smartest person in the room. I know I'm not. That's the difference. That's why I'm here trying to tell you that while Donald Trump has a lot of skills, some would call them dark arts in politics. He shouldn't be taken lightly. I always think it's a mistake to laugh off Trump. I always think it's a mistake to point at him and just go, oh, he's stupid. No. His stupidity is probably what's going to save democracy. That's the reality. His lack of skill and competence and unwillingness to learn is what's going to save this country. It's why he was always destined to fail. But to laugh him off as simply stupid, a person that won the presidency twice, there's something there. It doesn't mean that you have to be like Democratic elites and want to run and pander to it and think the country's gone to the right. But it also means you don't discount a person who is willing to break any laws, break any norms, who's willing to violate the Constitution, who's willing to ignore the guidelines the founders laid out, all for his own self-interest. So, that's where we are. Donald Trump is actually too dumb to be a dictator. He's too lazy. He doesn't want to surround himself with competent people. He doesn't want to do the work to overthrow democracy. And even if he wanted to, and even if he was competent and talented, he would still fail because the American people have democracy in their DNA. And you can tell through all the millions and millions and record-setting protests. 2 of the top 5 protests against presidents in U.S. history occurred in Trump's first year for a reason. Because Americans know, whether you are liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat, independent like me, you know democracy is sacred. And those who try to overthrow democracy or undermine it have no place in power in the United States. And they need to be dealt with appropriately at the ballot box. I'm Jason Eastley. I write for Politicus USA. I write for The Daily with Sarah Jones, where both of those publications are available on Substack. Please consider subscribing. They are valuable publications. You will learn things. Your knowledge will grow. It's worth doing. Also, to like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on X, Politicus USA, or Sarah Reese Jones, and TikTok and Instagram at Politicus USA. Until next time, stay strong and never stop believing in the power of the American people.